So let me go back here. We talked about what is business. Let's explore just a few different types of business. First of all, before we get into too much detail, talking about business, what is a business? A business is an organization that strives for profit by providing goods or services desired by our customers. So if you think about it, there's a couple of key things there. It's an organization, so some sort of entity, strives for profit. Now, I do have a problem with that because not all organizations are profit-driven. And it does that by providing goods and services to customers that customers want. So that's what a business is. And we do that by providing any number of different things. Actually, if you think about it, everything you're wearing, everything you're using, whether it's the computer or the tablet or the phone or your pencil or the notebooks you used or the desk you're sitting at or the chair you're sitting in or the beanbag you're lounging in, everything comes to you as a result of business of some sort or other. Unless you make everything yourself, there's a purchase aspect. And if you're buying it from somebody else. So businesses meet the needs of customers by providing solutions, basically. It could be medical care, it could be cars, it could be laptops, it could be jeans, it could be pencils, it could be headphones, it could be earpods. When we talk about goods are tangible items manufactured, whereas services are intangible offerings. The stuff that you're using and that you're wearing and that you're sitting at, those are all products. So goods and services. In one sense, it makes no difference. Businesses are set up to do those things in similar ways. The way they provide their outputs are different, and what you actually, the tangibility of the output is different. It's the idea that you're getting value. Yeah, so if I go to a electrical goods store to buy a fridge or a washing machine or a TV, they'll normally try and sell me some insurance in case it breaks, won't they? There are some consumer rights you get, so if the product doesn't work, you can get your money back within a year. So let's just take a quick look at a few. Here we've got 4 examples. A fast print shop would be one of the franchise ones, or Snap Print, we have them here. But there could be other, like a Kinko's in the US, where you can go get your CV printed, or you want to get a wedding invitation printed. You go and you design it and they do 100 business cards for you or whatever. I think this is the best example because we all are somewhat familiar with restaurants. And a restaurant's a perfect little business. Not all of them now, but the idea of the restaurant is, it's you're producing a product. There's an element of service in it as well. It's, you have to have ingredients. You have to buy ingredients. You need equipment. You need a production line. You need a space for customers to be interacted with and where they can consume their food. And normally, McDonald's, you pay in front, obviously. But other restaurants, you tend to pay at the end of the meal, certainly here. So there's an element of collection. So all the bits and pieces are there. It's got staff. It's, you might have a chain of restaurants. It might be just a one-off. So restaurants are a really good example. And of course, we all have experience of them, so we can talk about them a lot. We could talk about a little courier company, City Dash. So this could be, I set up my own little business. I buy myself a van and I set myself up as a courier. And all I'm going to do is deliveries. That's it. And I'm going to have an app and I'm going to be, pick up here, drop off there, no problem. Here's the fee, bang, done. Or it could be a little grocery store, another classic business. All of these are businesses of some form or other. And they all have some things in common in that they all normally have an owner. They normally have some staff, even though they might be family staff. They have to engage with suppliers and they need customers. And they have to deliver a product or a service as a result. That's the space that we're interested in. Okay, looking at any type of business and figuring out, well, what are the structures? So which of these might be a company? Do you know the difference between a sole trader and a company? What is a company? Sometimes we talk about companies, we need to understand what a company actually is. It's a legal form of organization. Given that these are all different businesses, and that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the business environment in respect of any one of these businesses. One of the things we're going to talk about at the end is back to this, which is back to COVID. Okay, we're going to talk about the impact of natural disaster, the impact of energy crisis, the impact of war, the impact of pandemics. This particular picture was taken again during COVID, where people in nursing homes, to keep them safe, they weren't allowed to have visitors. So some people only saw their relatives through a window. When we talk about business in this context, and we're talking about business environment, when we talk about business in general, Most people think we need to focus on these three things, don't we? We think about sales, we think about costs, and we think about profit, don't we? That's what a lot of our focus comes down to. But would you agree with that? I think if we're thinking about business or we're learning about business, in a lot of cases, we focus in on the bottom line. Sales minus cost equals profit. But there's a lot more to it than just that simple equation. Okay? And business environment is crucial in understanding, A, that there's more to it, and B, that we focus on what is the one mandatory requirement for any business. So it's not just sales minus cost equals profit. What is the one mandatory requirement for any business? What do we absolutely need for any business? So yeah, we have business plan, creativity, starting points, leadership, communication skills, connections with people, management skills, promotion, advertising. So there's lots of different pieces there. And there are other suggestions as well. But the one mandatory thing you have to have for every business is this: a paying customer. Right? We have to have a paying customer. Now, I love this picture. It's actually from taken Vietnam. I saw this in Hanoi. Unfortunately, I didn't take this picture, but I saw a guy doing this in Vietnam, in Hanoi. And I thought, that's brilliant. That's a perfect example. This to me is the perfect little business. We have somebody who's operating a business as a barber on the street, and the street barber only survives as long as somebody is paying him or her to cut hair. Now, it's not a business that requires an awful lot. So it really just requires a chair, a scissors, and a mirror, if you think about it. And the one I saw, the first one I saw was a guy had a little office chair. He had a nail in a wall along the street, and he hung a mirror on the wall, and he had a chair in front of it, and he had his scissors and a comb, and I think he maybe had a sheet as well, obviously. And he was cutting hair there on the street. I think it's a brilliant little business. In this particular case, you can see it's a little bit more sophisticated because he's managed to and I would imagine this is a spot he comes back to day after day. He's got this little shelf on the tree where he's got his accoutrements and maybe some gels and so on. He's got his sheet, as I said. You can't really see it there, but there's a wire coming down, going back up, probably back across to the building behind him where he's plugged in, if he's going to use the little razor thing. So that gives him more of a service to add. And every business, every customer whose hair he cuts is going to give him a couple of dollars or whatever. So it's a cash business. He's got passing trade. He knows where to set up and where not to set up. There's no point in setting up to do this in a place where people aren't walking by, where there isn't footfall. So he's got to find the right street to do it on. He probably needs to do a deal with a shop owner or a restaurant or something that he's going to be outside of so he can access their electricity, and so they don't, get him run off by the cops. And it's a cash business. Customers, service with a value add, operations, where he has to sit and cut the hair, and some sort of investment into the chair, the mirror, and picking the right location. It's not that it's a hairdressing business or that it's a small business or that it's a cash business. The thing that makes it work is the fact that he has a paying customer. If nobody's going to pay him to do this, he can stand there all day and he's not going to make any money. He's not going to be in business. But by the very nature of the fact that he gets people to sit down and he cuts their hair and they pay him, he has a paying customer. That's the one mandatory thing that you need for every single business. Does that make sense? So we want to think about the business environment in those terms. Okay, so what are we talking about? We're talking about the different businesses, different entities, different types of businesses, producers, manufacturers, service providers, big and small. We're going to talk about the differences between them, in that some are companies and some are sole traders and some are partnerships. We're going to talk about the fact that some of them have a legal structure and some of them have a different legal structure. And we're going to talk about the fact that they're organized differently. So this street barber is organized differently to McDonald's. McDonald's has a completely different structure, doesn't it? Completely different scale. And yet they're both businesses. Now, one might be much bigger and much better or throw off much more profit than the other, but that doesn't invalidate the fact that the other is a business as well. So we're going to explore that. We want to look at and see, well, what are we trying to achieve here? So the person who opens up a McDonald's franchise is looking for a longer term profit. They're looking to make a significant amount of money. The person who's doing this is probably just looking to feed their family and to have an ability to generate income and to put some money away. The person who starts up a new software business, the person who starts up an online school, the person who starts up a new tailoring business or a new restaurant, what are they trying to achieve? And how does that translate through objectives for this week or this month or this year? How does it translate for objectives for this member of staff and for that member of staff? How does it translate to investment we're going to seek to run the business? So we need to talk about that aspect of it. And most importantly, we need to talk about the what if. What if there's a pandemic? What if there's an earthquake? What if there's a change of government? What if a new competitor comes into the marketplace? What if there's new technology and we don't need this service anymore? So we've got to talk about those things.